If you guys aren't consistently logging in and seeing what's going on in studios, dude, our team just added a private interview with me and Les Brown. Like they're adding stuff every day. Some really, really, really cool stuff. Also, the 8% 2025 recording of the entire conference. Guess what? With Coach Bert and other speakers, kaboom! It's inside of CA Studios now. We are ready to rock and roll. And so there's a ton of content there. We appreciate you guys supporting that and being a part of CA Studios for only $99 a year. Where can you get all of that freaking content for about a cup of coffee? Like I spent about $7.83 at Starbucks today, and whatever this cost me in our commercial machine. I've already spent more in coffee today than you will in studios for the month, right? How sick is that? Okay. Coach Bert is someone that I've known for a long time. We first saw him speak at 10X conference with Cardone in Vegas back in 2018. I knew I loved him ever since. He reminded me of a Baptist pastor, and I love getting a chance to hear him. It was in his coaching program. I've been to retreats. We spoke at a bunch of. He's had the pleasure of speaking at his events and doing different stuff together for years. He's a good dude. He cares. He pushes people to win, and he's a phenomenal business coach. His topic was the big table. You want to kick it off, Coach, and kind of explain and kind of recap a little bit of what the big table means to you?
That was the first time I had given that talk at 8%. I just gave it this week at a big conference in Nashville. But, I believe everybody deserves a seat at a much bigger table. I believe there's a lot of 7 and 8 figure people that are stuck, in 5 or 6 figure vehicles, right? I believe most people are highly talented, yet they're undercapitalized. So I'm a big on concepts. When you write as many books as I do, I'm like a songwriter. I'm looking for a hook. And it was really in an interview with Lewis Howes and Price Pritchett. Dr. Price Pritchett wrote U Squared, The Quantum Leap Strategy. Highly recommend those 2 books. Small books, 37 pages. He sold $14 million worth of those books, which is crazy. And he was doing this interview, and Lewis Howes asked him a real simple question. Why did you go into mergers and acquisitions as a psychologist? He was a clinical psychologist. He was doing executive assessments. And then one day he walked into his company and just said, we're going over here. He had never done mergers and acquisitions. And he said, we're going to be the #1 expert at mergers and acquisitions in the country. And within 6 years, he was the #1 expert at mergers and acquisitions. So Lewis asked him, why did you go into that? And he said, because mergers and acquisitions was the big table. It was the biggest game in business. Okay. And when I heard that, it was kind of a trigger moment for me of like, Coach Bert, what is your big table? And so here's how I define a big table. It's the biggest opportunity available to you that is highly enjoyable, it is highly profitable, and it is highly meaningful. There is a return on your energy, there is a return on your investment, and there is a return on your objective. Now let me give you an example. I got a contract right here that I got today from an insurance company. This insurance company today is worth about $14 million. I'm going to come in and work with this company to try to drive up the enterprise value of this company. I'm going to try to, and then we're going to look at maybe rolling that up. And eventually, hopefully, we can sell this thing in a roll up for about $40 million. And if this happens, and if I can help increase that value, and we pick up $26 million more here, then my take on the exit, this is what this contract is, would be 10% of that. So in exchange of my coaching, I would get 2.6 million. Okay. Now this insurance person may not be able to give me 2.6 million up front to be her coach, but this is a way for me to make 2.6 million off this deal by me coaching her company. Everybody with me? And I have been her coach now for, 4 or 5 years. And we started talking about roll-ups and exits. And she said, I want you to be a part of it. Here specifically is what you're going to do. Coach my executives, help me do events, help me drive up the enterprise value. It's right in my wheelhouse. And she said, I would like to give you 10% of the increase of the value on the valuation. And I go, okay, see, that's a big table move right there. She's going to pick up a big lift. I'm going to get paid nicely for my skill set. So big table is like, Cody is like, I'm always asking Cody, like, what's a big table mean for you? Right? Like, what is the next big thing that you can do? And that's really how I want you thinking about it today.
Yeah. And you just hit crazy. It hit me like a ton of bricks because you spoke on, he was our first speaker at this year's 8% for those that were in the room. And literally hours later, I forget who was going, maybe it was later in the day. You walk up to me and you whispered in my ear and said, well, what's your big table, you know? And I'm like, man, dude, I don't even know that I know yet, like that's what I have learned is like the more you get around people like yourself and you're doing big things, you're building a brand and you're doing events and you're going to stuff and you're joining stuff and you're in communities, it's amazing the doors that begin to open that you just never anticipated opening. Like some of the stuff you're mentioning was probably not even on your radar years ago, right?
No, I've raised right about $30 million in the last 12 months for two funds and a publicly traded company. And if you would have said that to me, a couple years ago, that I'd be raising capital to invest in data centers, or I'd be raising capital for a publicly traded company, I would have just said that's not what I do, But when you're open to quantum leaps, which are these big jumps, opportunity comes at you in different ways. A lot of people say no to that opportunity a lot. But what if I told you the biggest jumps for me may not come over here, they may be over here. And it's all because I'm open. I'm open to opportunity.
Yeah. As much as I feel like I've been open to expanding the brand, I have been, and there's some benefit to this, I guess, but I've been very stubborn and said no to a lot of stuff. And I am noticing that is actually from a trajectory standpoint has held me back along the way because it is easier to say no. Like it is when people are inviting you to stuff or want to be a part of stuff or whatever, or want to give you money for something. It's like, no, I'm doing my thing. And so I'm guessing there's some like benefits of like being focused, right? But there's also some huge tables that you miss out on by not being as open. And so I hear what you're saying.
Well, I want to be clear. I do believe diluted focus equals diluted results. Okay. And I want to be real clear here. I have a primary skill. That is the skill of activation. Okay. And I use the same skill in every opportunity that I have. So if I use the skill of activation to activate a business, now I'm getting activating a brand. So people are coming to me saying, will you help me activate this brand for a percentage of equity? And I know how to activate through all of the coaching experience, through activation events, through creating concepts, by driving people to something. So what I figured out is I didn't have to change the skill. I use the same skill in these opportunities until I go, man, this is a big opportunity. Like this is a big table opportunity, right? And so it's not like doing 7 different things. It's kind of using the same skill to solve a different problem. And then you find out which problem is the biggest problem.
That's a good point because it is easy for us as entrepreneurs to think, okay, I had success here. Let me go open a restaurant, or I did this. Let me go do that. But you're saying, no, no, no. I'm still a coach. I'm still activating people's prayer job. I'm still working with them. I'm still expanding their vision and helping them implement. But but that's where the big table is now you're a part of these different opportunities that are still within your skill set.
Yeah, because let's just take, the board. I'm on the board of directors of a publicly traded company, and I got on board with that company when the stock was at 6 cents. Okay, it's called Safe Space, which uses AI technology to keep places safe, schools, prisons. So when they asked me to be on the board of directors, the stock was at 6 cents. Okay, yesterday it was at 90 cents. So let's just say they gave me X number of millions of shares to be on the board, and it's gone up 9 times, 10 times. So $100,000 invested in that company. On any given day, that stock is up $1 million to $2 million. Now, what am I doing, Cody, in that company? I'm coaching the CEO on how to be a person of interest, right? They bring me in to speak to the sales team. I'm not changing my skill. I'm actually doing the exact same thing. It's just in exchange for a much bigger piece. Okay. And so once I figured this out, it's like, man, I have this one skill. Guys, I can't cook. I'm geographically illiterate. I can't fix anything. Like I was raised by a single mom. I don't know how to fix anything. Okay. Like my wife can fix more things than I can. Okay. So there's a lot of things that I'm really bad at. But once I figured out that, hey, I am a stone cold killer as it relates to activation, then I started going, where could I take this skill? And then people started just asking me, can you activate my brand? Can you do this? Can you be on this board? And then it's like, it's really exchanging that skill for the problem, but the payout could be a lot bigger, as you know, for years. There are a lot of people on stage that, I've coached or been their personal coach. You spent a year and a half with me going through retreats and all those things. And, at the end of the day, though, when it's transactional, there's only so much money a person can give me to be their coach, right? But when you're getting into these bigger plays where you're helping somebody exit, or you're getting a piece of equity, or you're helping build and grow or roll something together, that's really where the big money is.